Hey guys, so this is take two of the podcast recording for today because apparently I forgot to press the audio. No, apparently I forgot to press the video record and I pressed audio instead, and I want this to be video. So if you hear myself repeating myself a bunch of times, that is why. But anyway, this is Convo Desiree speaking. This is your host, Desiree. And today we're going to talk about the importance of being multifaceted, living outside the box. So, let me tell you what I brought this topic on. So, when I tell people that I am a podcast person, I don't, and it's the people that usually know me, they say, how did you get to that? Because if you don't know my backstory, I used to have a hair business and then I transitioned to having a candle business and then now I'm here. And this is a journey that has spanned it over, I think, 6 years now between those three businesses. And oftentimes when people find that about me, they say, it doesn't make sense. Like, how did you transition from those three things? Like, those do not correlate. Those do not correlate at all. And I agree they don't. But I just think that goes to show that people don't understand what it means to be multifaceted, have multiple interest things in people. And that also brings me to this podcast. So if you are new here, you may not know this, but when I first started this podcast, it used to be called Faith Over Pressure. And even though I prayed about that name, I thought about the name for a long time before I started the podcast. It's just something about how I just didn't like how it sounded. It was a good name, to be honest, but I just didn't like how it sounded. I felt too niched down, you know. This podcast was intended to spread the gospel and, faith based, and that is the main focus of this podcast, faith/lifestyle. But as I grow more in my journey and listening to more podcasts, I have decided that while faith and faith Christian lifestyle will always be the center of this podcast, I don't want it to be the only thing I talk about. And so some of the podcasts I listen to, for instance, one is called Question Everything. It used to be called Pretty Smart by Danielle Robay, where she interviews people on different topics. Like, I just think it's about her questioning like everything, like it's not about a specific topic. It's just she gets to the bottom of what people do and what they say and what they think. That's what I get from it at least. And then another podcast to listen to is She's So Lucky, formerly known as Balanced Black Girl by Les Alfred, where her content now is about what she brings on specifically women on and talk about different things about, like, she had one called The Ambitious Trap, or another one about like what's called How to Be the Woman of Your Dreams. And while it does still have, I guess you could say, a so-called niche, it's not necessarily the same thing. So, and I've always liked stuff like that. Another podcast I want to mention is Aspire by Emma Green. If you haven't watched none of those, please go check it out. I think they're amazing. But, Emma Green, she mainly invites business people on there. And she talks about different things, but it is still mainly a business related podcast. At least that's my perspective on it. But I have noticed how, like, literally half the podcasts I listen to are faith based, and the other half is business related. And when it comes to this podcast, it's not gonna be necessarily business related. However, I do like to interview people, asking them what made them decide to do this, what's the process, what's your thoughts on this. I just don't want to be niche down. I want to do it all. And I understand that may be confusing for some people, but we have to understand that the whole niching down is so 2018. It is. It's just so old school back in the day. And I am just tired of not being able to be multifaceted both in real life and online. So I guess you could say in regard to this podcast, expect different content and all. I would say it's still faith centered, faith rooted. But I have noticed in my recent interview with some of the people, if you have listened to with the three people I've interviewed, I really like to ask you questions more so than talking with just you guys. I like talking to you guys, but I really like interviewing people, and sometimes, like, it's not always gonna be face to face, like, cause people don't wanna talk about that, and that's okay. I would find a story regardless, whoever I talk to be honest, but I just know something I just recently found out by myself is that I love, 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 love to ask people questions, especially if it's something I'm interested in, like a business, but it's not gonna be a business podcast. But anyway, bring it back to my original point. It is so important for us to explore different things and not to be just one thing. I just think it's more important to develop a personal brand versus a niche because let's talk about both real life and job wise and even like content creator wise. So when it comes to having a personal brand in real life, that's just, your personal brand is who people know you. Like you don't want to be just one thing to people. That gets annoying real fast, at least in my opinion. In my personal life, I would say people would describe me as, let's say at least at work, like the faith girl, Christian girl. And while that is a nice thing to be known as, I'm so much more than just a Christian. Most important thing, however, I am more than that. And I just think it just sucks because when people have that just one thing about you, they have such a small limited mindset of who you are without even getting to know you. And trust me, it's not always great to be known as one thing, especially when you try to step outside the box and people think you're low key faking it. And it's just like, no, I've been like this. It's just you never gave me a chance to show you who I really was because you put me in this one box and you never let me explore. Me actually, you never let me show you who I really am, all sides. When it comes to jobs, I think it's more important to get to know who you are. What are you going to take? What are you going not to take? What are you good at? What are you not good at? Like, it's good to be known to be good for one specific thing at a job, but when it comes to a promotion, don't you want to be someone that knows how to do more things that way, more responsibility, more money, if you care about that? I know some people don't care about climbing the corporate ladder, and I totally get that. That can be a different episode for a different day, to be honest. But there's this TikTok I follow. I forgot her name, but but anyway, there's this girl I follow on TikTok where she talks about the importance of being a personal brand, and I totally agree when she talks about how if you're stuck in one niche, you'll be stuck at the same level forever. I agree with that. When it comes to your job, it's important to let them know, like, obviously on a professional level, like you're no more for just that one thing. Like, don't be so pigeonholed on this one thing that you can't learn or you can't show people that you're more than just that one thing. Because oftentimes, if they don't think you can do a job that they need you to do outside that one thing, you're gonna get fired. Or you're not gonna get the promotion you want. But anyway, another thing let's touch base on is when it comes to content creation. Now, I've been in and out the space for the past 6 years, and even back when I was 20, I didn't want to be in a so-called niche. Now, honestly, when it came to the biz in, obviously, I'm going to talk about just hair or I'm going to talk about just candles, right? But when it comes to a personal brand, I think it's really important for people to know who you really are. Like for this podcast, like, yeah, the podcast is mainly faith based, Christian based, right? However, as your host, I know people want to know more about the host and like just who I am in general because why would you listen to me if you don't know who I am? Like, why would you care about me if I'm not telling you certain things to get to know me better? And it's been proven time and time again that building a personal brand builds, trust, loyalty amongst the audience or relatability towards the audience. Now, I'm not saying you should do this just to get trust from the audience. You should do it because you want to, obviously. But it does also help you stand out better if you care about stuff like that. Also, it just doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? If you are stuck in one niche, it just hinders your creativity. Trust me, I've been through this when I first started the podcast already, even though I'm so new into the podcast space. It hinders your creativity and what you need to create for your people. And I understand you have to talk about certain topic for people to listen to in this space. However, I want to be pigeonholed to just one specific topic. I can be known for, like I said, faith-based, but however, I still want to talk about different things. Like I said, when it comes to interviewing people, and I just find it so annoying when people I tell people my plans about like how I want to expand on that and they just tell me I can't. It's confusing. It's not gonna do well. And I get that. I really do. But at the same time, I know, along with prayer, that if I have a plan and if I just authentic to myself, everything work out because I don't want to be like the same thing. I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. I do that at my job already. Okay. I don't want to do it for the podcast. Let me be different. Okay. Let me be different. So, you know, but that was just a little rant for today. So overall, the key lesson is, at least in my opinion, please stop trying to fit in the box. Be like you are the niche. Be be the person you want to be. Like, I don't understand why that's so hard. Whether it be business or real life, like stop trying to fit in people's boxes, people's expectations of you. Like, especially at this big age, like we need to stop doing that. I'm 26 years old and I see people even my age still do that. And I struggle with it too sometimes, but it's time for us to realize that it's not all meant to be the same. Like we see it all the time on Instagram and TikTok, how people look the same, talk the same, do the same things. And for this industry, at a point you do the same things to copy off each other. However, have you noticed how the people that stand out are the ones that, take the trends and they spin into own little thing and they go viral and stand out? Those are the ones that be more successful in this field. I just want you to think about that just for a quick moment. You know, I just want to rant for the day about how I think it's important for us to be outside the box, whether it be personal life, content creation, or just job in general. But anyway, this is the end of the episode. I know it's a quick one today, so I just want to get it out there. Make sure you click the link down below to get your free gift. It's totally free, like I just said. All I need is your email. But this is your host, Desiree, speaking. Before I go, I just want to let you know I am on TikTok and Instagram. Convos with Desiree. And if you enjoyed this podcast, leave a like and a comment and subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube, especially. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.